Birthday, born day, baby. Hi. Or post-born day. In my family, the Murphy family and the Lawrence family, my mom's also side of the family, we have since we were little, we get like a birthday, then turn to a birth week, and then it kind of just transformed to a birth month, which I think is one of the fundamental reasons I love astrology, because you get your whole season. And my mom would always say, like, you were born, like you came from nothing, from a speck of stardust into my body, out into the world. And that is definitely something to be celebrated for more than just a day. Especially like, what if you have a bad day that day? Or you have to like be in meetings or like something annoying. So in my family, we have birth month, which has really hit me like 2 years ago of like why I love astrology so much. Because of our birthday season. So hi Kimber. Kimber, I have your sweet note on my altar. You're so sweet. Hi, Gabriella. Okay, good. See, this is it. I love our like mystic mamas who filled us with so much love and so much wisdom from a young age. Okay, so much to talk about today. I wanted to use this Monday Moon Day to talk about, like, obviously we're going to go over some good news from the weekend, checking in on some things that are happening that are positive in the world. And then I wanted to spend most of today on Pluto retrograde and really what it means for us and how we can make the most of it and what's going to be happening on the collective energy and on the individual energy level. And then we're going to, if we have time, I was going to pull some cards to see, like, you know, how can we begin inviting this energy in for all of us and do a little reading on that. Does that sound good? Okay, good. So we have, I'm just gonna say good, and I'm just guessing it's good for everyone. So we're talking birthday season. We're talking, Pluto retrograde. I'm reading a really interesting book right now by an evolutionary astrologer named Jeff Green, and he's like one of the, I think, maybe experts on the more soul growth, meaning and definition and archetypal languaging behind Pluto in our charts, which I've always been interested in Pluto because like Pluto's here to fuck shit up and I'm down with that rock and roll energy. But as an astrologer, we focus so much on the more inner planets, on the personal planets. So this is my first like real deep dive into just going like full Pluto, Plutonic energy. And it's super interesting. I've been putting together, I don't know if you can see it, but there's literally like books upon books behind me. I've been doing so much research for our Magic of You course and the Cosmic Bosses, obviously, which is, astrology. I think why I love it and studying energy is there's no end. There's no like, oh, I've learned enough on that, I can close the book. Every day, I swear I have a different, like either direct revelation in my own brain, walking around, download, or I read something or listen to something on YouTube or a podcast, a different take on it. And actually from you guys, from my clients and my community and my cosmic bosses, someone will say something. I'm like, that is a super profound translation of the stars. So just letting you guys know that one, this is a never-ending journey. If you're interested in astrology and energy and personal transformation, welcome on board. You signed up for a life of being like, what? Really humbled by all the stuff you don't know. And also, I'm always open to everyone's interpretation here. If you guys have something you want to add to the conversation, I always love to hear your perspective. So we're going to talk about Pluto and really what this means for us, this planet of, power and power. Pluto is the lord of the underworld, which is super casual. I just love, like, I have all the planets. I talk to them like people and they're like archetypes to me. And I had a dream last night that Venus and Gemini was like calling me out in a classroom, like literally calling me out in like a college classroom. And I was like, what? So I have dreams about the planets. They talk to me. And Pluto, I laugh thinking about Lord of the Underworld, like God of the Underworld. Like, that's such a casual job title. Like, I think it's so funny. So yes, I'm wearing my Death tarot card tee, but with a little neon because balance. So we're going to be talking about Pluto and how we can harness this in our personal lives and a little bit of how it's giving us context context for what's happening around us because I love context. Oh my gosh, Abby also had a college dream last night. Something's going on in the air. I think it's that Venus in Gemini, and like also we're about to enter the Gemini Sag like access. And to me, Gemini Sag is like Gemini is like teacher, student, and then Sag is like college, kind of like learning that more professor, big like the world of academia. And I feel academia. I don't know why I just said that like that. So I feel like maybe we're all about to have some like kicked up old things around school and learning. I don't know. Hi, Kay. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. Kay just came on. Kay's going to be coming on the morning show sometime soon, hopefully. She's a really brilliant illustrator, artist. Okay, so let's talk about our positive news before we get into our Pluto rundown. So just some things that I saw over the weekend. I really wanted to, just as always, thank you guys. I'm so grateful for all of you, the things you send me all weekend, the positive news stories or things you want to share. I'm going to share something that's like a national news story, and then I'm going to share something that's a little more close to home. So the national thing that happened that I was really proud of to see was the food grocery store chain Publix. I believe they're mostly like in the South in Florida. But anyways, I saw that they just did something which reason I want to highlight these things is not because I'm totally trying to be like a news anchor, a little bit, but also because I think that there's something vibrationally about like amplifying positive news and amplifying people who are modeling good forms of success and supporting the community in this other way, because I think everyone wants to show up right now and not everyone knows how. So for big companies, I mean, if there's any like CEOs of grocery stores watching this, please DM me. I have ideas for you. But I love this thing of Publix. They took all of the excess food from the farmers. We know this has been a huge issue right now. Crops, food going to waste. It's come up a lot in my sessions. A lot of my one-on-one clients have adopted like a lot of work for farmers and food providers in their prayer work, in their blessing their food, thanking them for it, and then donating to organizations to help support them. So I really appreciate that. But what I love about a lot of this Pluto, a lot of this Saturn and Capricorn energy and Saturn and Aquarius has me thinking about like, it's not bad to have money. And I don't want people just to give away their money like recklessly because they feel guilty for having it. But I think thinking about like, what do I do with my money? Am I giving it back? And how can I invest in companies that are being really transparent and are using their significant wealth? Like I love donating $20 to a campaign I believe in or to an organization, but also like, where am I buying my stuff from every day? What kind, these big bills I have to pay. Who are these companies? What are they doing with their money? And if I'm going to go grocery shopping every week, that's like say $100 a week, $400 a month, that's like $5,000 a year. Who am I supporting with that money? What are they doing? Because that's where like the impact gets exponential, in my opinion. So Publix did something really cool. They bought up excess food from farmers because, hey, they have the money, they have the dough. That's also a tax write-off for them. Great, win-win. And then they donated that food to local food banks and to people who are in need. And to me, that is a virtuous cycle. That's just a loop of like a win-win-win. So beautiful. I commend Publix, and I really encourage other companies who have that kind of resources to look at that as a model. And then on the more micro level, a lot of you guys know that I'm based out of New York, but I also based out of Montauk on Long Island. I grew up on Long Island. Montauk is a very sacred place for me, a sacred space. That's where I really started getting back into my moon work and my astrology work because of my amazing community of goddesses out there. And the land is so sacred there. And if you guys haven't been, it's just one of the most magical, mystical places I've ever been. And I just saw that one of the local hotels out there was doing a really cool giveaway of an August holiday vacation weekend for like frontline workers and people who are in need, who are going to definitely need a big time vacation. And for those of you who know, August in Montauk is so expensive. It's like the peak of the peak season. So a lot of people obviously can't always get out there in August. And I thought that was such a cool really way again of showing up for people. Like, hey, you're doing something really profound right now for our whole community, New York State on the bigger level. So hey, like come here, take a load off in August, sip a Mai Tai by the pool, go get some lobster rolls and rosé all day and treat yourself. So if you or a frontline worker are interested in that, I'll put it in my story. And thank you to Cosmic Boss Kelly Faye for sharing that with me. So that's like kind of the positive news I wanted to share. I love seeing businesses and people show up with their resources. Like, what do I have? Do I have a hotel room to share? Do I have money? Do I have, extra food, equipment? That's been one of the really cool Saturn and Aquarius type shifts that this whole great pause or whatever we're calling this time we're in, that's been one of the real, truly like silver, platinum, beautiful Herkimer diamond linings of this whole thing. So I'm about to get like my full Virgo notes out for Pluto right now. Like I said, I've been reading this book by Jeff Green on evolutionary astrology of Pluto. So if you guys are interested and you like this talk and you want to learn more about Pluto, because to me, Pluto is like our shadows. Pluto is what we push down below the surface and how it erupts out. Because things, my life wizard, his dad always says it all comes out in the wash. Like there's nothing that you can totally shove down forever. And that to me is like one of Pluto, Lord of the Underworld's taglines. So if you're interested in this Pluto talk and you're like, yeah, let's keep going here. Let's keep facing this Pluto energy head on. I can definitely do like maybe a little, one of the morning shows, we could talk about each house that Pluto's in, because Pluto is generational. So if you're like me, you're Pluto in Scorpio. The next generation after me, Pluto in Sag. So the Pluto, the sign Pluto is in is generational, but then the house that it's in dictates what it means for you on the individual level. So we can, of course, talk about that. And of course, through evolutionary astrology, they go through all the houses and they even bring it up in an even more dynamic, to me, vivid, vibrant way. So if you're interested in that, let me know. We can definitely go over it. So like I said, Pluto is just went retrograde this weekend. And, retrograde, as a reminder, it's an optical illusion that happens, that appears the planet's going backward, but it's not actually going backwards. It's just slowing down. And in this orbit, what's interesting about retrogrades is this is when these planets, whether it's Mercury or Venus or Pluto, they also get very close to the Earth, which is why retrogrades are synonymous with some sort of intense time, because all of that Pluto energy that's like out there in the ether is now like right up on us. So that's something to be aware of, and why I always like to recommend like not being scared of retrogrades, but being gentle on yourself, leaving margins of time, finding your ways to self-soothe and manage your emotions, not biting off more than you can chew, like the time of the review and the and the look back, versus like leaping headfirst into something new. So Pluto will be retrograde through October. So we'll have lots of time to kind of mull over this, and I think that some very interesting things are going to happen on the collective. But I don't really do predictive astrology. Like you guys have seen my videos for the past maybe 6 months, where I was kind of hinting at like, I think things are going to get really crazy in February and March. But I, of course, don't know like what that is always going to look like. And I also think that as humans, like we're not meant to understand every single thing that happens in the future. But it is like, understanding the energy report, we talk about here, the weather that's coming up. So in broad strokes, I think that from now to October, on the collective level, we are going to see some disbanding of unhealthy power struggles. We're going to see some revealing and healing of systems and structures that have been like winning at the abuse and at the cost of like the underdog, or at just the general public, the collective energy, the people. Some of these structures I think are really going to crumble. So it's interesting. We have that going into an election here. If this is ending in October, we already saw, I was not following the Kim Jong-un story at all. And then I just saw like on Saturday how like his health might be in question and there's a surgery that's botched and no one knows if he's alive or dead. And then his sister might be taking over. And I was just like almost shook of like, this is the most Pluto retrograde news headline I could imagine, like day one of Pluto retrograde, because it's about like, if you guys remember in the winter, he was making some threats about like, the United States and we have a present coming and a gift, and it sounded like a nuclear war attack. And we were all worried about that. Meanwhile, like the coronavirus came and snuck up on us from behind. But I was like, okay, Kim Jong-un, like, yes, I don't love to classify people, but you're definitely on the not the naughty list on the Pluto kind of ledger here. So watching that kind of happen really shook me. And I'm like, okay, so I think that we can expect more of that. We can expect more news stories, things happening, politicians, CEOs. There will be, I think, a great crumbling happening under this Pluto retrograde. So mind your P's and Q's. And this is why we do the work, so we can stay on the nice end of the Pluto ledger. I mean, it's fun to be naughty everywhere else, but in regards to this and abuse of power and manipulating people, we don't want to be on that naughty side. So Pluto, let's talk about a little bit of what we can expect on the personal level with Pluto. What this is going to mean for you. So you guys might have seen over the weekend, I shared some things, 10 lessons from Pluto retrograde. That's just me like riffing, again, talking. I always am talking to these planets. So I really like sat down and I kind of, wrote, channeled, like, what does Pluto want us to know? And some of the things seemed kind of obvious. Some of the things that came through were really like we have to hunker down right now and hold on to something, because there's gonna be a lot of changes. And if we're not centered in something, then we're gonna be like really like rocking with the tides and getting pulled to and fro. And so Pluto retrograde was really telling me, or Pluto was telling me, like, we gotta be the anchor, like the pole in the water the ocean swirls around, not like a leaf in the ocean that's getting like pulled to and fro. And a lot of that being rooted here is this alignment. Is this like being rooted deeply in self-love and self-honoring, and then being rooted deeply in like, how do you want your life to feel? What are your values? And then do your thoughts, words, and actions, are they in alignment with those values? Are you walking the walk? Are you keeping things in this alignment? That's going to be like a big thing to keep coming back to in this Pluto retrograde. Okay, so we talked about Pluto, casual, hashtag Lord of the Underworld vibes. This is going to be asking you right in the beginning. In the beginning of a retrograde cycle, it's like, ooh, everything gets kicked up. So I shared also like a tarot card spread, or you can use the oracle cards also, because this is a ripe time to sit down and do some self-discovery, to do some self-talk, to see what are all these little parts of myself, my little fragments of my emotional self and my memories and my experiences and my traumas and my triggers. What do they all want to teach me? And how can I bring everything back into alignment so I can live sovereign, and I can live again in me dictating how I feel and in control, versus all these parts of me like running off and self-sabotaging me or taking me down roads that I don't necessarily want to go down. So doing that spread is a great like ritual, a great ceremony to kick off this Pluto retrograde. Write things down. And once you lay down those cards and you have that conversation, it's like opening a portal. So you do that card spread, but information might be revealed to you for the next day, the next week, the next month, till October. Like it's opening a dialogue, okay, which is very also Venus and Gemini right now. We're meant to be in dialogue around our needs and our values and what we love and what we think we deserve. This is very Venus and Gemini medicine, which is happening while this Pluto retrograde is happening. And then Venus is going to go retrograde and join the retro party. But a good question to think about now in this conversation on Pluto retrograde would be like, what's my power struggle that I'm currently engaged in? What's a power struggle that I'm currently engaged in? And where am I not acknowledging the truth of the matter in something? Now, power struggle can be anything. It could be with you and another person. It could be you and an old memory, an old story. It can be you and a entity, the government or something, like, but where is there, like, a power struggle where, and usually power struggles are hiding a truth too, because, like, if we looked at the truth head on and dealt with it, it wouldn't really be a struggle anymore. So, what's my power struggle, and where am I not acknowledging the truth of the matter in something is a good jump off point for Pluto retrograde. So is that shadow self tarot spread. We talk about transformation a lot in the spiritual community. It is a buzzword, transformation, transformation. I love it. But truly, Pluto is like actual, real, literal transformation. So, with this retrograde, it's like, okay, what's something that I can look back on? And what's something that I might have been working on for many, many years? Because Pluto in Capricorn is about like this Capricorn thing. This is not a new issue we're looking at. This is deep and old, and it might even come from your like a male who influenced you growing up, a father, grandfather, uncle energy. This is like, what's something that's deep in you, and are we ready to truly look at it head on and disengage from the power struggle and release it for our true transformation? Pluto is Phoenix rising from the ashes energy. Okay, you heard? Like, this is literal transformation happens under Pluto. Things that you thought you could never move past, subconscious wounds, old self-limiting beliefs, habits, patterns. Under Pluto, it's like they get shaken up and they can get released from our psyche and subconscious, which Pluto also rules. Um, so if you haven't done any kind of therapy or self-examination work or worked with tarot or worked with, a spiritual counselor, this could be a great time to do that, because you can do this on your own, but let's be real. A guide to navigate you through it, it just goes a little faster, there's a little bit more grace and ease, and you're held in a support system. So, yeah, these are things that are going to be really important for Pluto retrograde. And the other thing that I want you to think about on the more, let's call it like positive, affirming, like bringing in new energy question is, what is my definition of power? And I want you guys to ask that to yourself. Like, what defines power to me? Authentic power. What defines authentic, sacred power to me? What does that feel like? Is that being autonomous? Is that feeling, yeah, like sovereign? Is that having like financial freedom, waking up free? Is that feeling like good in my body? Is that like having enough resources for yourself that you can share with your community? Or like, what feels like power to you? Authentic, sacred power. We're redefining um, power, and then we're looking within so we can transform and make space for that. So, sometimes Pluto brings up painful experiences from the past that we don't want to look at, but like, I really encourage you to tenderly look at them. And like I said, on your own or with a guide, a therapist, a counselor, a spiritual mentor, this is the time to look at them. And I swear, when you actually look at them, they're not nearly as scary as when you push them down and you don't look at them. Nothing is scarier than something in the shadows, because our imagination runs so much deeper, and it's so much. I remember one time reading, I always quote this with my mentees when we go into shadow work. It's like, just looking at the thing takes away all of the drama and all of the like fear that we have charged up around this thing, or shame or guilt. And I remember reading an interview one time with a Hollywood director who made horror movies, and they said the scariest thing you can do in a horror movie is keep the villain or the monster off screen. Yes. Hello. He said that the horror movie director said keeping the ghost, keeping the monster, keeping the like villain off screen is the best thing you can do in a horror movie, because our imaginations are so much more vibrant and so much more expansive than whatever they could actually put on the screen. That once you actually see the monster or see the thing or the alien or the creature, we're just like, oh, okay. Like there is something that we actually like that's not that scary anymore. So I figure it's the same kind of metaphor with shadow work. Looking at the thing head on, looking at this thing head on. Um, because also the numerology of Pluto, I love looking at the numerology of all the planets, is zero. And for those of you who know, zero is karmic reset, a new beginning. It's the egg. And I know a few of you have significance, and I've seen a lot of eggs lately. Um, Numerology, zero. We're in right now. When Pluto goes retrograde, especially in this like deep generational shift we're happening right now, it's really like there's a place to be reborn out of this. There's a place that something is hatching open. There's a sense of beginning again. And of course, with Pluto can come what I like to call the, and Nadia Shah, an astrologer, actually, she said this first and I copy her, but she says, divine frustration. Like divine frustration can come out of Pluto, especially it's been square the sun. So I'm not saying this is some easy ride. There is absolutely um, divine frustration, but also sacred power intensifies. And it's like everything right now is all wrong, but it's all right too, if that makes sense. Like everything is messed up, but this is good. And letting your frustrations guide you and speak to you. Your frustrations are what might guide you into this truth that you need to look at, or into your power struggles, or into like what this concept of authentic power is to you. So we're going to let your frustrations speak to you and inform you. Okay. Um, and yeah, like just thinking about this moment we're in with this great shift, this great pause we're in, I think this Pluto retrograde we're going to see on the other side. I think a lot of people are either going to have such a deep reverence of gratitude for their old life that now they get to return to it. They're going to have like a sacred, like reconnecting to how beautiful the things they used to do are. But then I think there's going to be half of people who are going to realize like that path I was on in that relationship, in that job, just the way I was living my life, that doesn't feel authentic, or that feels like superficial. It doesn't feel good anymore. I think we're going to see a lot when we come out of this, whenever that is. A lot of people are not going to want to go back to the way things were, whether that's, in their relationships, like I said, in their work, or just how they live their life, what they prioritize. And I think that's going to be a lot of Pluto retrograde medicine there. So yeah, like I said, it's a digging deep. It's a digging deep. Pluto, sometimes they equate Pluto to the well, like the infinite well, where we keep digging deep and there's no ending. Like there's still stuff to find there in our psyche, in our subconscious. And one thing that I wanted to share, and I'm gonna kind of wrap this up now and then just pull some cards for us for today. But the download that I had this weekend was, okay, Pluto retrograde is happening. These are the players right now. I'm going to set the stage for you of what's happening in the cosmic theater, in the cosmic play that we're all watching and we're all actually a part of. One of those plays you go to, but you're also in it. There's the character of Pluto retrograde, who's the lord of the underworld, who's here to like start shit up, stir shit up, and ask us like, what is your power struggle that you're ready to let go of, and what is actually true power to you, and how can you trade up and level up? And while that's happening, we have Venus in Gemini, who's telling us like this is the time to learn from others, to listen, to talk, to learn how to communicate and articulate what you need, to not just leave it up to chance or people like guessing what you need, to learn how to write about it, speak about it, talk on it, and also how to listen. And Venus in Gemini also rules our neighbors and our communities. It's like, how can we show up with this energy for our community and our neighbors? And all this is happening while we're in the last literal few days of the great Cancer Capricorn nodal axis we've been on. Someone asked me last night in my cosmic boss community, like, what happened in July, Maddie? Was there some big astrology event in July? You damn right there was. It was one of the biggest eclipses I can remember feeling the impact of on 4th of July. Cancer eclipse that reshook and broke up everything we know about family and security. And we all had to have a moment of like, oof, maybe something broke inside of us to be rebuilt. And then that Capricorn eclipse came to end that cycle because eclipses always come in pairs, right? Of their opposite sign. That came on Christmas. So when I knew that, like, oh, there's a eclipse on 4th of July about our mothers and family and how we nurture ourselves. And then an eclipse on Christmas dealing with like fatherly energy and how we work and what's important to us and the structures in our society. I was like, this feels significant. So we just went through that. And now we're in the last few weeks of it. So I think the Pluto retrograde happening with this Cancer eclipse, this Cancer axis being finished right now feels like, okay, we realize like family is truly so important. And I mean chosen family too, like family and home. Like we live in a society where everything's been very like out of the home for a while. Like we don't have like the kind of same home life we used to, which is fine, that's evolving, but there does still have to be value on home. And I also saw in my meditation this weekend how deeply um, this time right now is going to be for like generational healing and trauma and ancestral healing and shedding. And I think it's part of this being home and having to do things that our ancestors did, like cook all their meals and read books and garden. But then on a deeper level, it's just this Pluto retrograde in Capricorn, ending this Cancer Capricorn cycle of like, if you're willing to have the awareness, you can look at things and say, those are old fears that are not my fears anymore, and I can let go of them. Those were my ancestors' fears, and they had to carry them for something. I don't need to carry that anymore. And I can sit and I can come back and I can be in this place and do the things they did, but now like jumping from their shoulders and access to certain light and certain healing that they helped me get to this point, but I don't have to like relive their narrative, if that makes sense to you guys. So yeah, Christmas felt like a hard day. Yeah. 4th of July and Christmas this year was hard. And I thought it was also ironic. What's the right word? But the United States, we are a Cancer. We're a sun in Cancer. And that means that our ideals in the highest octave, you guys have heard me say this before, but the highest octave of our soul's calling as a country, United States, is to nurture and take care of others and to say, come in, I got you. Like there's a place at my table for you. Come warm yourself up. Let me feed your belly. Let me have you in my house. Let me take care of you and family and honoring the divine feminine. And let's just say we have not been doing that or reflecting in that, especially in our more like political agendas and our public policy. So when that Cancer eclipse happened on 4th of July, on basically our birthday, I was like, oh shit, this feels like a direct wake up call to the United States. I'm not trying to make everything about us, but right now this does feel like we're getting called out a little bit by the universe. So with that, I hope it just broke some things to invite in, yes, this rebuilding, this healing, this transformation. So yeah, if you guys are interested, obviously, like I said, we could talk more about this. I can do the evolutionary astrology based on like the houses of Pluto, the generational thing. I'm curious what everyone's like. Pluto is in generationally speaking. I'm in the Pluto and Scorpio generation, which is all about like going through many deaths and transformation. And I think my generation, I'm 35, 1984. My generation, people in that have lived through, a lot. We had like 9/11 and then the war in the Middle East. And then we've had like so many of these like breaking and reborn moments. So the Pluto and Scorpio, I'm like, that makes sense. And then Pluto and Sag generation after me, you're going to be here to like, yeah, expand our philosophies and to learn through like travel and connecting to other cultures. And I see that so much in that generation. The Pluto and Sag generation, I really love like watching how they just understand that there's like no borders of like culture or time or the mind, and it's beautiful to watch it, and like I love that. So yeah, I'll definitely do maybe a quick talk on like Pluto in the houses, which I'm going to be going over, and like the magic of you a little bit. We can give a little teaser here. Speaking of, there are so many of you registered for the Magic of You. I'm so excited. It's going to be like an astro party. I have my Cosmic Boss group going, which is literally giving me life. Life. I just lost my voice. Like that community, those people are literally like making me jump out of bed every morning, wanting to like just get so excited to work on things, to talk to them, to connect to them. And now this Magic of You is, if you missed the Cosmic Boss, or maybe it wasn't in alignment for you right now, Magic of You is another way to join the party. And we're going to be meeting every other week for live calls and really just diving into your birth chart and bringing it to life in really simple, digestible, like language, and just making it super relatable for you. But also you can use these same things and then read other people's chart in this way. But I want to I love astrology, but sometimes there's so many like memes and quick things of information out there. I want this to be like an immersive, embodied soul journey through your chart. And I want you to get to know your chart, and I want you to have it speak to you, and I want you to like bloom and blossom in this way of not just like, oh, here's my chart, rattling it off, and here's the words on the page, or like, I know, astrology through all these things I learned. This is about like bringing it to life and being like, what does my soul want to create? How does my soul want to move through me? How does my soul want to love another person? How does my soul want me to acknowledge it and take care of it? Yeah, so I'm really excited for that. Okay, I'm going to read back the comments a little bit before I pull a card. Pluto and Scorpio, me too, Kay. What up? Our generation just like everything got blown up over and over again for us. Pluto Sag, first house, and so is Arden. Interesting. Two of my cosmic bosses, very interesting Pluto alignments. Okay, and then Brooke asked where I got my shirt. This is from a small business. I mean, I cut it up and did all this. The t-shirt, I don't mean to brag, but I cut this shirt myself. This shirt is from a group called Femme Fetty, and they make like really fun graphic tees. You guys know I love my graphic tees. Okay, so let's just pull a card. Let's pull two cards. And let's just see, like, I've been reading a lot about like the mythology of Pluto. I told you evolutionary astrology. Nadia Shah, who's an astrologer that I really admire, and I met her this winter, and I got her book Prayers to the Sky, and she talks a lot about the mythology of all of these people, the zodiac signs and the planets. And you guys know I love mythology, and I love archetypes. So that's been really illuminating to me. And there was something in the book, I think there's a quote from Tolkien, and it was like, who would we be without our sorrows? And like, we are who we are because of the pain and sorrow. I mean, also because of joy and love and authentic real love. But there's this thing about like, I'm also watching this show called The Magicians, and they offer people on it opportunity to like get rid of your shade. And I think they're talking about your shadow. I just started watching it. And this concept that like you can erase all those sorrowful, painful moments from your life. But when people do, they're giving away part of their power, and they're giving away part of their magic, quite literally. And they're giving away like their depth and their wisdom. And I thought that was like profound as shit for a TV show. I was like, yeah. And then this Tolkien quote of like, who do we be without our sorrow? So just as we move through Pluto retrograde, I just want to invite all of you, and like if you do the Shadow Healing Tarot, or you decide to take this whole concept of shadow work to the next level, I just want to invite you, like, this is beautiful. Like this work you do is beautiful, and your sorrow and your guilt and your shame is all beautiful, and it all is serving you in some way, and it's teaching you something, and it's going to be really important for you as you make art and as you make a change and make a difference in the world. Okay, so there's nothing too scary to look at. There's nothing to internalize. Okay, this is part of our human journey, is we have this. Okay, And then next time I'll be talking about Saturn retrograde, which is a little bit like, what are we going to do with this energy now? Well, what are we doing about it? But I'm going to save that for our Saturn retrograde. Today is just shadow work, Pluto. Okay. My cousin's going to come on Wednesday. She came on last week. Salt House is her Instagram. And she does so much. She's taught me so much about the healing tool of using tarot to rewrite our stories, to, look at like the therapy of like visual narratives. So again, like if you guys are looking for a tool, one, she's doing a course on it that starts on Friday, I believe. But also it's just also like for yourself, even getting a deck and like pulling cards for yourself, asking questions, letting the images speak to you, letting your brain like look at some old things that you've kept tucked away, and then beginning to like maybe rewrite that or reframe that in a gentle way. Like a call. Yes. Oh, that's so good. That's so funny. The Pluto retrograde. I know. It's like, look at this. It's like when you like put a dog like near their poop. It's like, look at this poop you made. But then it's also like, come here, let me pet you now. I love you. Just kidding. I don't know why that image came through. But it is like sometimes Pluto retrograde is like, I get it. I'm a flawed human. But it's like when you're willing to release and like look at it, it's like, that which you resist persists, that which you embrace dissolves. I wish that was like rhymed on both ends. It'd be a better expression. But like that which you resist persists and that which you embrace dissolves. It's like, yeah, just look at the thing. Look at the thing. And I know when I started doing my deep shadow work is when like all of like my mother effing power came back. I was like, my intuitive work got like next level boundary work on block. I just felt so in command of my energy. And I was like, that's it. So like, this is really powerful work and it's super rewarding too. Okay. It's so funny. Pluto retrograde is so funny right now. It really is. Okay. So let's see. What should we ask? I'm going to ask, how should we frame this? Okay, let's see. I had some notes here on something I wanted to ask this morning. I had my meditation. Bear with me for a moment. How about this? We'll ask for the collective, what is a shadow aspect that we all might need to focus on today? Collective shadow energy. And what will the reward? What's the gift? What's the treasure waiting for us on the other side of looking at this? Are you guys ready? Sorry to group you into a collective tarot reading right now. I'm actually going to use the archetype deck by Kim Krans, but a collective shadow reading for you. So if you're watching at home, of course, you can always say your name out loud or to yourself. It definitely helps like bring your energy into you, focus it. So yeah, what is my little cosmic community? What is our soul family of ours? What do we need to look at? What's the shadow aspect that we need to focus on? And what's our reward? What's our treasure on the other side? Okay. I see you, honey. I see you, archetype deck. So the collective shadow we need to look at, I was like, wow, if this is something like super abstract, I'm going to have to like, this is like, whenever I shuffle, whenever I pull cards, just so you guys know, a ritual I do in my mind is I just call upon my guides and my angels, my ancestors, and the earth just to like flush my ego out of my brain. So that way I don't have to worry about like performing or doing a good reading. It's just about like being a channel and being an oracle and being here to be of service to whoever needs the medicine. But there are those things about like, sometimes I'm like, oh God, I hope this is like some of the cards in here. Like, I'm not I don't know, what's the shadow going to be that applies to all of us? I was kind of thinking, but I flushed that. I flushed that shit, flushed that ego. And the card that came up was so like, duh. I was like, oh, okay. So our collective, everyone watching this in space and time has a shadow around or may need to release a collective societal shadow or individual shadow self around eros, sexuality, shame around our sexuality. Hello, duh. Especially like Pluto Scorpio, our generation was the generation that came in to be like, shame on shame, let's fucking root this shit up. And we started being like, I don't want to be ashamed of my sexuality. And it even started with something as simple and naive feeling as like Britney Spears writhing around the snake on stage. Pluto and Scorpios know what's up, because that was like our coming of age moments. But then it kind of has shifted into different conversations. And now Pluto and Sag is taking that to like the next level. But like, I am sorry, I don't care who you are, how you were raised. We have a shadow to heal around eros and our sexuality and how we receive pleasure and how we truly look at sexuality as like a gift, and how we should look at it as a gift and this sacred art and this sacred gift that we have to be in our bodies and to experience ecstasy and to experience eroticism and pleasure, and also eros, like this thing of like the aliveness of life, and also like hunger and like going after something that your body just wants. So yeah, some collective information for today, some shadow energy we want to release. It's not going to all happen today in one day, obviously, but I think this is going to be, during this Pluto retrograde, like a big thing. Because to me, sexuality, and owning our sexuality directly relates to like everything else in society. I read this amazing book, Pleasure Activism, this year. And there's so many things. My mind's spinning right now. But like this, like how we treat people's bodies, and people's, especially in society, when like I watched two movies this weekend where someone's sexuality was used against them to leverage, manipulating someone, or to keep them in a position they didn't want to be in anymore, or to keep them in a place of shame and guilt. Like there were movies about like spies and like political things. And some of those people were like, yeah, in more like LGBTQ relationships. Some people were just in like heteronormative straight relationships. But like the theme, which is like sex has been this thing that has kept us really constricted. And the thing about like once something happens sexually, that either to us or that someone finds out about us, it like constricts. We feel shame around it. And I'm watching all this and I'm like, wow, how many corrupt politicians wouldn't have been corrupted, is the better way of phrasing that question. How many politicians wouldn't have been corrupted if we didn't have shame around sexuality? Like I watched all these things. There's this story about this British prime minister who was involved in a relationship. He's a man with another man. And like they use that over his head to do all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, what? Just because as a society, we can be like, oh, you want to make love to another man? All this stuff happened. Like it blows our mind. And then we carry this deep in our body, even if we are like, no, I am sexually liberated. I am woke. I am like here for my orgasms. I am here to live my body. We still carry this in our muscles. We still carry it in the very just like etheric chords of in our being. So this is going to be like a deep exorcism for us and a deep looking at the things that like we carry shame around. This is definitely good to look at like as a child, like or we taught about sexuality, or once we felt ashamed of our sexuality, up to like preteen, teen. And like I love the exercise of going back and speaking to all those aspects of myself and writing them letters and letting them speak to me. Because like, yeah, when you were 11 and something happened and you were really confused, maybe you didn't have someone to talk to about it. And then it just became this thing and you internalized it. So this is our shadow energy, very casual. To look at, sexuality, sex magic. This is it. I do like an astrology reading that's all about like bringing back your sexual alchemy and understanding that. But there are so many things you look at in your birth chart. Again, pulling cards, just starting an exploratory conversation of like, what is something that I learned and what is something that's a truth? And what's the difference between those two things? Okay. Like I am taught to be ashamed of my sexuality and I don't want to say something or speak up for something, but it's like, why? Is that a real thing or is that just a story I made up? And that's why, yes, yes, the hesitation and the worry of the sacred thirst trap. Yes, this is it. Exactly. Arden, Dre, exactly. Like, and me too. I'm always here talking about sex magic. Everyone knows every 5 seconds I'm like talking to someone about like this, that, and like love yourself and pleasure and get sex toys and have open conversations and honor yourself. But yeah, like I have all this deep like inter things in me from like growing up in like a really conservative church or like from my dad's Catholic upbringing, where I almost feel like, oh, don't say that on Instagram where someone might see that thing or like, someone might not approve of that. And I have to catch myself in those moments of like, why do I care? Like where did that come from? And that is truly why I brought in the sacred thirst trap into the Cosmic Boss community, into this, because it's like, it's more than just posting a hot photo of yourself. It's this thing of like taking our power back around like there's nothing to be shamed around in our body, in our sexuality, in our sensuality, in feeling ourselves, in wanting and desiring that from someone else. So yeah. So yes. Looking, yes, I know. Yes, ignoring what you think over actually. Yes, exactly. Yes, I know. Okay. I love you. Yes, removing the conditioning. Yes. So this is going to be really important. So now it's October. Okay, let's look at it. I like it because retrogrades aren't like overnight. They're giving us some time. Pluto retrograde is a longer cycle. And let's really use that, to rework these narratives. And obviously within the Cosmic Boss, we're going to be doing a lot of this. We'll be doing it here. We'll be doing it in our moon circles. In our cosmic community, it's something that's very near and dear to my heart, and I know it's an ongoing process, and it's going to shift and shape into different things like every day. Let's talk about the gift, the treasure that's waiting for us. The medallion. I love this. Obviously, it's just like this gold, bright, like literally beautiful, like ancient looking token. And so, well, what do you guys think when you see this? I'm gonna pull up in the book. Oh my God, I have the comic card just pulled out from our new moon in Taurus circle, which was so lit, which was so lit. The medallion. This is like a prize. This is like a jewel coming back. And I asked the reading, like, what's the treasure coming out of this? And is literally like a picture of a treasure of a gift. I'm going to pull up in the book because Kim Kranz writes really beautiful things and I want to share it with you guys. But what do you see when I always love asking people their point of view? What do you see in this? What strikes you about this? I love the outstretched hand, the receiving, and the medallion. Something about this looks very old too, like an heirloom or something. And like we're bringing it back and we're like, thank you. Our hands are open and we're receiving it. Exactly. Claiming your power. Exactly. The prize, my goals, light, finding light within the darkness, calling it back to you, right? Like all this darkness. And it's like, I could be scared of the darkness, but I'm not. I'm going to reach up into the darkness and be like, I'm going to claim my gifts, my treasure, my power, my birthright. Oof, I have chills. Yes, Arden. Yes, this is Kim Crayons, does the same deck. She does the Wild Unknown and the Animal deck. I love her art. Yeah, so the medallion, I'll read it to you and then I'll let you guys go from here. But this is what we're claiming on the other side of looking at this, looking at all the ways that things get twisted and turned and knotted up and gnarled up through the complex ways that we've been told to be ashamed of our sexuality. When we look at that and can untangle that and take our power back, we're reclaiming something. It says, yeah, like the passing on of a sacred object is an ancient ritual within families, between lovers, and in groups across the globe. We gift jewels, treasures, keepsakes, and mementos of all kinds, some of great material value, others that just hold emotional resonance. Yet when these gifts are bestowed upon us, it's important to recognize that sometimes they can bind us to a promise. The medallion card appears to be aware of, okay, this is like not really for us, but this is about like objects that you hold have an energy. I'm going to get into that in a second. And then it says like, perhaps it's now time to reach for the medallion that aligns with your truest, deepest values. Um, okay, so this to me feels like within this card, there's a shadow and a light reason. And it's like, what reading, it's like, what did we inherit? That we love our families, we love our upbringing, we love our cultures, we love our traditions. We're here to celebrate them. But within all of our cultures, families, and traditions, there might be certain things around our sexuality that we don't want to inherit anymore. Whether it's actual cultural things like rules and things they say, or if it's just modeling and behaviors or things that, someone that we love, perhaps like a grandparent we love, but told us something on our sexuality that's like, I think that show Jane the Virgin, and the grandma was always like, your virginity is this like flower. And then when you crush it, no one's going to want the flower anymore. It's like a silly example, but these are the stories that we're told. So the medallion is going to be like, let's release some of the family heirlooms and the old things we don't want. And let's reach for the medallion now that's like truly in line with who we are. And it actually does heal in a quantum level. It heals the generations around you. And like I said before, this Cancer Capricorn nodal axis we're on with the Pluto retrograde has such healing available to us for ancestral healing. Okay, so this is it, reaching to you, to your true treasure, your true jewel. This is the gift that's going to be waiting for us. I love that. So everyone, that's that. If you have more questions, I'm going to be posting some stuff about the magic of you later. I'll put these cards in the story. All my cosmic bosses, I'm so giddy to see you tonight. I'm freaking out. I love it. I love Mondays now. Like I was woke up, like bounced out of bed. So yeah, I'm just sending you all lots of love. Stay cosmic today. Go dive into some shadow work. I promise you, it'll be interesting and very enlightening and very empowering. So yeah, sending you all lots of love. I'll be back here Wednesday at 10 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're here. And my cousin Kirsten will be on to talk more about, pulling some cards and tarot, healing through tarot. Okay. Bye, everybody. Bye. Oh, Jewel of Eros. Sorry, I just saw this. I'm catching up. Abby, yes, the Jewel of Eros is in the coin of the medallion. Oh my God. Yes. I'm going to post these cards in the story. I love you guys. So brilliant. Okay. Bye. I'm going back to bed. Good for you, Arden. Okay. Bye, guys. Oh, bye, guys. Thank you for joining us here today. You always drop comments if you're watching this in the future, and I will answer them if you didn't get to catch the live.